In a span of 24 hours. In a span of 24 hours, I had learned two important lessons about high school, the hard way. My freshman soccer team was a fun and free-for-all team without much discipline or player intensity. As one of the strongest players on the team, I became frustrated at points throughout the season. We were a relatively weak team. Our record was nothing to be proud of, and internal conflicts between different players made for many tense moments during the season. This brings me to the bus ride before our last game of the season. The entire team was hyping each other up for our last chance to potentially win our second game of the entire season. We loaded ourselves on the bus and settled in our respective spots for the drive to Falmouth. I sat in the middle of the bus, surrounded by teammates, while a larger and much noisier group congregated in the back of the bus. They laughed loudly, seemingly fascinated by a singular object being passed around. In what seemed like a pattern, players would focus on one seat for a certain period of time, burst out laughing, followed by a searching new hand secretly reaching out into the seat to accept whatever the object was that was being passed around. I walked to the back of the bus to find people passing around a vape. A teammate had purchased it from an upperclassman before the game. Seeing teammates whom I always thought to be responsible and sure to stay away from distractions like vaping pained me, and it truly left me in shock. My middle school experience made me aware of the obsession around vaping in our school, but I never actually thought it would infiltrate our innocent freshman soccer team. I immediately decided I would ridicule these teammates during warm-ups, and I thought I would never see them in the same light again. This freshman fall experience was transformative, and a moment when I was truly blindsided. The sad fact is that vaping is an activity normally seen now, in any bathroom or other secluded spot. The moment on the bus made me face a discouraging reality about the different paths friends take when they get to high school. Before you know what's happening, friends you never thought would become involved with vaping and drugs have already made that choice. The vaping incident faded at soccer, but it still burned in my mind when I rode home. So I turned to thinking about the big science test I had avoided thinking about. Studying was a new phenomenon to me in high school, as I had winged tests on almost every occasion during my middle school years. Oh, how I missed those days, thinking back. I arrived home with almost no motivation to do anything resembling studying. I fell asleep that night, and my studying consisted of a few reviewed notes and some distracted efforts watching Bozeman science videos. Coming to class the next day, a stressful buzz permeated the air about potential contexts of the test, and many resorted to last-minute partner studying. When the test showed up on my desk, I thought, well, how bad can it really be? I quickly scratched my name on the top right corner. Boy, was I in for a rude awakening. From the multiple choice questions to the diagrams, every question seemed like a calculated guess. I assumed I would luck out in one of my 1 in 4 chances with A, B, C, or D questions, as I had in middle school. My realization from the science test was that high school academics required some significant change in perspective and work ethic. I also saw the hyper change in classmates' mindsets as they worried about the college significance of every grade and assignment. This obsession significantly elevated the stress level of every test and paper, and my peers were suddenly discussing the importance that freshman year could potentially have on college transcripts. I was distracted from what actually mattered about the test, how much I had learned throughout the unit of teaching, and how I could prove that knowledge. Instead, I was paranoid about the numerical value of my grade that would come out of this heavily weighted test. A few days later, the buzz around the science test grades being in quickly spread around the study hall. The grade I saw in Power School was the last thing I hoped for. I was deflated, but immediately began texting classmates about their grades, hoping for similar results among my friends to comfort me on my poor performance. I also felt a looming cloud, as I imagined telling my mom about the flunked test, and felt the stress of her expected reaction and the immediate discussion of the things to do differently next time. At this time, the slip-up felt like an absolute end of the world, and completely ruined my day. Preoccupation over grades is something I have learned to control and reduce over the past 2 years, because the one true result is added stress. Additionally, as easy it can be to compare yourself to classmates in a sign of progress, it's more important to be satisfied with the best that you can do. Work hard for your own learning and understanding, and not to impress your friends or the people in class. When you care about the learning and enjoy the actual subject matter of the class, grades and everything else can take care of themselves and will likely go your way.